the potential for pitfalls, of which there are many. Now, this is an 18-year-old kid who's in the headlines. Scotland may well call him up, and he might get thrust straight into international football, as you did.
Yes.
What are the dangers around the corner?
I think the dangers are believing the hype. I think social media, Instagram, Twitter...
Which you didn't experience when you were 18.
I was at the back end of it. I got it when I was at Villa, when I wasn't doing so well. It wasn't nice. But sometimes when you're playing, and you're a young player, and you're playing so well, and it looks easy for him. It really does look easy for him. But then people tell you how good you are, and then you actually start believing it, and all the hard work that got you to that place to make your debut. I'm not saying it goes out the window. Maybe subconsciously it goes out the window, but you think like you've arrived. I think these guys, why they had such great teams, Liverpool, because you had, Roy Keane or whoever the captain might have been saying, don't let your standards drop. Do you know what I mean? And if they have that character, if they've got it in a manager in Lampard, and if they've got a captain who's willing to do that, his standards will not drop. I think that's the most important thing.
His family will have a big role. I know we mentioned ages, but his family, he'd be, obviously from a decent background, and they'll have to keep an eye on him. And obviously he's in London, there's temptations for the kid. Just be careful.
I agree, because I think that when you look at the sort of Liverpool team that came through at the same time as us, there was yourself, Steve McManaman, Robbie Fowler, Michael Owen.
Where you going?
But no, the difference...
Spice Boys, guys.
He knew what he was doing.
Raise that one. Yeah,
I didn't need to say it. But, the big difference, I feel, ultimately, the senior players that we had to look up to were completely different, I think, than the senior players that those young lads had at Liverpool at the time. I'm not saying they were bad lads, but in
don't know about that. I won't take
Jamie,
that.
your response. You've never really spoken about this.
Good role model. There was a lot of good lads.
I felt our senior players...
We might have had one or two, but there were some good ones, I promise.
How much did that headline hurt you?
It was a fantastic
Jamie,
role model.
how much did that tag?
No, I'm not about the Spice Boys. John Barnes. Listen, there were some brilliant players, and it all depends. And I agree, you need the right senior players, but I think that is... I think sometimes, the manager maybe can lead you in the right way. I mean, I was talking to Frank yesterday, and I asked a question. He said he's starting again. I said, what's he like? He said he's a fantastic lad, loves football. And that's what you want to hear. Of course you can have temptation. You can't control what someone does 24 hours a day. Roy's been a manager. Gary's been a manager. Players are going to go out and might get themselves in trouble.
Reputations can stick, Jamie. You were called the Spice Boys.
Yeah, I was called a lot worse than that.
It clearly bothers you still now.
No, I don't. What do you do? The reason why because we didn't... They won. Our team always used to come second to them or beat us in the FA Cup final. We turned up in white suits. We looked ridiculous. We'd have won in those white suits. I'd have it on now.
It wasn't tapered like it was now, was it?
Honestly, don't worry. But these
and he will make mistakes. You have to learn by your own mistakes as well.
Listen, I had good family around me, but I still made mistakes. I made a load of stupid mistakes, and this is what sometimes happens with young players.
You told us that you were in a music video at 18.
Yeah, T2, Heartbroken.
Let's find that. Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, you find it.
What are you doing? You throwing some shapes in?
No, I'm just driving in there. It was a Range Rover.
So if you had
You would have been in that video even if you weren't a footballer.
Probably, yeah.
So if you'd had your time again, would you be in a music video?
No, like Roy said, you've got to learn from your mistakes, but I think... Like we mentioned the Pogba thing, do you know what I mean? Like he's on social media, and when United lose, he's like, well, why is he on social media? Do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes it's best just to let someone else deal with that. You concentrate on football, and then, no one can throw any stones at you then.
You've been in a music video?
I have, actually. We got to number one once, didn't we? Do you remember the Striker video?
Was I in it?
Yeah, you were... Hold on. With your old-sized Diodora jumper on.
Did it get to number one?
That's the difference.
But wait, hold on. Heartbroken, it got number 1 or 2.
Did it?
Definitely.
Yeah, right.
And football's coming home. I remember a little appearance of you and Phil.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
2 number 1s we've had.
What were you going to say?
The English Proclaimers.
There might be a big contract around the corner for him, though.
Who?
Billy Gilmore, potentially.
Look, I have to say that the fans listening at home will never think that this is something that, to be fair, players will find it difficult to deal with. But you take a kid like that today, no one is looking at that kid today and thinking anything other than positive thoughts. But he's going to have 150 grand a week put in his hands soon. And all of a sudden, he'll buy a better car, he'll buy a better house, and sometimes that will have an impact on young lads. It has an impact on them, and it's... doesn't matter who you are, you've grown up playing football, you've basically fallen in love with football at the age of 5, not because of a car or because of money. You fall in love because you just love doing it. And then you get to 16, 17, 18 and you become good at it, and then you basically get a load of money put in your hand. It's not the fault of that lad. And he's got to be able to cope with that. Now, said, the fans watching it obviously, I'd love that problem to have, and obviously that's something that is a privileged position to be in, but you see a lot of lads get carried away. So when, you know, the lads there talk about getting carried away and keeping your feet on the ground, it's because they've seen examples of where players have been given contracts. There's hundreds of examples, and all of a sudden the hunger drops, the desire drops, because the fame's there, the fortune's there, the car, the house, and before you know it, your football's gone. And the football is the most important thing.
If they lose the hunger, and the money can do that. But there's also another side to that. We played with players who were earning 200,000-300,000 a week, and they still had that hunger. You know, if he's a decent lad and he's from a good background, that won't distract him. You're entitled to get the rewards, of course, the monies, and hopefully the medals will come his way. But if you keep that hunger and desire, he'll be fine.
Yeah, he looks like he loves football. You know, everything about him. He wants to be on the ball, he wants to touch it, and that's the feeling I'm getting from everybody there at Chelsea. So, look, you never know what's going to happen, what's around the corner for a young player, but he's just got to maintain those standards. He's set such high standards, not many come in, and I bet you Mason Mount's quite pleased in a way, because it's taken the pressure off of him. I thought he was exceptional today, even Ross Barkley in there. The three of them were brilliant. So, it's good news for Chelsea's academy. What his biggest problem will be now, there's Kovacic coming back and there's Jorginho. He's got to fight every day. And it's not just on match days, it's in training to show Frank Lampard and Jody Morris that you want to be in that team. And that's where the competition for places and, as you say, play with good players, you get better every day.
What you hope is now, obviously, because Roman Abramovich is going to reappear at some time, he's going to obviously, you know, his ambition has always been they have to win the league at all costs or else the manager gets sacked. They have to win the Champions League at all costs or else the manager will get sacked. It does feel like there is a different approach and that the club are embracing what Frank's doing with these young players. But for that means they're not going to probably win the league for the next couple of years. They're not going to win the Champions League. They may win a trophy, but the expectations have changed. I think Jose alluded to that earlier on in the season. It's the same here as well at Manchester United. But there has to be a more patient approach, or else Roman Abramovich is going to have to spend £1 billion again to get back into that position. And he probably wants to give these young players a chance. They deserve a chance.
Yeah, I think Gary makes a great point, because I reckon if you ask Frank Lampard when the window closed, I bet he was furious he didn't get any players in.
He seemed to be.
But now, in a way, by not getting players in, has given people like Billy Gilmour a chance. I wish you might not have seen him. You know, might have seen him next year, because I think if you're good enough, you make it. If you're good enough, you get in the team. But sometimes by not having the personnel, you're forced to play a young player. Not that he's done it because they deserve it and they warrant that chance, but it just shows you that he might have gone with a senior one, but look what he's doing.
When a young player comes through, you've done it, Gary, when young players come through and they're local lads that come through the academy, it does change the dynamics and the energy at your club. Everyone seems to lift the academy, it lifts the supporters. No, the bigger picture, you still have to win football matches, but it does give everyone a big boost.
And it gives you a little bit of more leeway, because we're not sat here thinking Frank Lampard's had a disappointing season because Chelsea haven't won the league. It's the first time that we would say that maybe for 10 years. But he's having a great season. They're playing great football. It's probably the Chelsea team we like the most. Because would Frank want 250, 300 million in the summer? Yes or no? I think he'd probably be more happy bringing in the type of players that he's got and working with them for a couple of years.